Hey everyone, it's Zach with Palantir Research. AIPCon 2 was a success in my opinion because of what all their clients said in their presentations, and it's important for all investors to recognize that each of these keynote speakers actually brought up different value points of Palantir and made sure to highlight that for that specific audience. And in general, I'll go over the whole event too and what happened, but as is mentioned, I'll also concentrate on those areas I found very valuable and fascinating in the presentations that I think actually will drive more customers to sign up for AIP and Palantir in general. So starting out, the opening statement by Alex Karp is kind of the same if you've watched a lot of Palantir talking points, but I do appreciate the customer question section. I think this format has a better look where you're answering what customers are actually thinking about for themselves. It covered a wide variety from AIP to just general artificial intelligence to implementing AI in their specific industry to even philosophy. And that's the point. These customers care about their specific problems and needs and implementation of AI so they can get some clarity and guidance from Palantir and what they think is the best course of action in that case. Next, we had Shyam Sankar, the CTO, speak through AIP and run a demo. Essentially, he was highlighting the value of AIP and how you can use KLLMs, so you're not putting all your eggs in one basket for an LLM to do everything. Instead, you get multiple models running and coming to a consensus at a point, or using them for specific aspects of a problem in the process. And this is highlighted also by Eaton's presentation actually, and this is one of the main value propositions of AIP, where you're running multiple models that best suit your problem and the specific needs they're covering. And we get to our first point that I think will also steer customers towards AIP to sign up. He used an example of GPT-4 in there, so we all have that reference point of ChatGPT that everyone is very familiar with, especially the audience. The value here is that Palantir can utilize this LLM alongside others at scale in an organized and secure manner. Now, Ted Mabry, who spoke next, is the head of global commercial business at Palantir. He referenced an article actually regarding General Milley, who brought up Palantir, but not specifically in name, but it was obvious in the background that they're running in the war in Ukraine. He tied how military's application of Palantir's products, but also tying that over to the commercial side, which is, the back and forth that's very valuable. He went through different clients and gave many, many real examples of the foundational problems they're trying to solve, and it really shows how this product is taking off so widely. So tying back to that defense part though, and what's the next step after getting that foundational stuff? Well, what actions are going to be suggested or needed to be done with these problems here, not just identifying them. And he goes through the numerous applications and solutions that they're doing with AIP for these clients. And this is much more than the keynote speakers, of course, so we get a huge list of these different companies partnered with Palantir using AIP. Long story short, AIP is accelerating its adoption across so many industries, and he mentions the reason they are moving so fast is that the technology is powerful and allows customers to use the technology very simply. And he calls it an AI mesh too that can just be extended into these tools that make it easier to adopt. And I think the big point here is that the AIP bootcamp as well. So they're providing 0 to use case in just 5 days, and that's to get a hands-on example where they can eventually get to an MVP or minimum viable product. This is super valuable and educational, and it is the education portion that is necessary for AI right now, since we're still early in the phase of technology and, of course, being implemented in businesses. The best way to learn is literally doing a real example that you can apply. And once you've built up that template, though, for your organization, it's going to make it much easier for the next one and compound on it. And basically, it's going to supercharge how fast your organization can adopt AI. Now, onto the speakers themselves. Eaton's example is dealing with the issues of material shortage, with over 72 ERPs, of course, to try to manage this problem at that place and time. The built-up, though, of their ontology with Palantir is to help them get a full picture of this and not look in different systems. And due to this, they were able to drill down even to customer-specific shortages and started creating actions on what is truly being managed. And this is with the full picture context, of course. So 5 weeks ago, he mentioned specifically, they did an AIP bootcamp in Chicago. That's where I'm at, actually. They were able to get the early hand-holding, of course, to apply AIP with their AI agents, creating material shortage alerts. And then their example was for a specific part there. And they used multiple LLMs consecutively that ultimately led up to the evaluating of their solutions of material shortages. Basically, it took whatever it took teams of work to do. It's only in a click of a button now. Now, the user has a solution, of course, but they plan to go further in their development here. And in the future, users are going to take action with AI as well. That's still in development, as I mentioned, but it's amazing to see they have future plans here and shows the stickiness of Palantir since they keep on building on it. But you'll start to hear similarities, of course, for other keynote speakers that AI is getting supercharged with Palantir's ability to tie so much data together, and not only using a single LLM, but multiple ones. But there's also merits to using Palantir that these customers highlight as well. Now, CPKC starts with a big opener saying that the power of Palantir is the framework it provides. And I like how he brings up the importance of security as well. Managing 80,000 train carts a day, that's a really huge issue here. And, tracking all of them is basically chaos. And they're creating a unique mission for each and every cart every single day. Of course, that's through Palantir. The specific issue, though, they covered was the train cart dwell. Basically, it's just going to sit around. This is a big issue because it compounds not only that cart there, but other carts leaving and incoming since it takes up space at a station. And cost-wise as well, this snowballs up because of that kind of relationship there that I mentioned. They're using AI as a decision support system to empower their users, and then users can predict from info with like weather to the scheduling in general, and holistically can figure out these issues while knowing that their actions will do some downstream effects as well and see what happens. Now, the AI agents go further and creates a solution of this and recommends this, and this is working alongside humans, of course, because they're setting up the parameters on what the desired outcome is. And he beautifully said that we can see the local and global impacts of everything here, and that's what makes it so powerful for an analyst as well, to really see not only the whole picture, but the consequences of their action or actions based on the recommendation from AI, and of course evaluate that plausibility. And they highlight the next big value proposition for Palantir, which is that the framework focuses on the continuous improvement here that keeps on further training and holding and building up the knowledge base of the future, which stops the technology from going obsolete because Palantir's framework allows this to happen seamlessly, all while these different scenarios play out over time and build up. Next, we have Centra, who does transportation infrastructure, running toll roads. Their speaker used a Northern Virginia toll road as an example. They operated the first automated tolling system in 1997, so that's a long time ago. So their focus is on smart roads, though, and that's to coincide with autonomous vehicles, which they believe is for the future. And they want to plan for this infrastructure along the roads to accommodate all kinds of drivers, especially as we get a mix of them. She showed their work in Foundry, their solution called Avia, which brings together sensor data that uses AI perception. Along using their own data, she does mention specifically they use third-party data and found the value in bringing disparate data sources together. They've operationalized 12 use cases with the example of spotting a slow vehicle that will give them a warning, of course, to their system that this certain event is happening. And another one, which I think is way more important, is a pedestrian out on the roadway to ensure that they're detected way before a person can even spot them on the monitor. This is probably the easy example to understand as an everyday person who drives all the time with the upcoming technology of autonomous vehicles. There's that issue of transitioning between regular drivers and, of course, that mix I mentioned. And honestly, I don't think regular drivers are going to go away, of course. But as autonomous vehicles come up, there's going to be an infrastructure need for that. And they really wanted to show that you can tie all these disparate data sources all together, like the third-party one here combined with the proprietary data. And that's to get the full picture there. And last but not least, I think the best presentation, although I'm biased because we have a comparison to last AIPCon, HCA Healthcare. And they didn't disappoint, showing so much progress here. They've ramped up their initiative of tackling staffing and scheduling for clinicians, and they actually reached 150 departments in September, where in the last presentation, actually, they were aiming for 90 back in August. So Palantir accelerates these businesses and looks like they even beat their own initial goals of rolling out there. Of course, they might have lowballed it, but either way, it looks nice to exceed that. And they continue to improve their scheduling tool with AI with the recommendations to ensure the balance is maintained among all staffing in different units. So if a surgery comes up, AI can warn them ahead of time, but also once the move is made, it makes the changes in the whole system here and it all talks together and literally notifies the nurse directly to make changes. It automates everything here from end to end, but cleverly, he does put that example of overtime where human intervention would be needed. So augmentation of humans is still there, and it's very important to note it's not going to take everyone's single job there. And it's also good to note that he said they're going for a 3 to 7 day ahead planning for the nurse managers here. So while this is something he noted that they could never do before, but now Palantir allows them to do this all the time. So nurse managers will have a full audit trail since everything is tracked. And he also brings up to a new example of AI usage is shift handoff. And he shows these manual notes of the old process, which I'm not surprised with many hospitals operating this way, unfortunately. Palantir allowed them to digitize this process and get all the info ready for the next shift instead of that piece of paper that gives a holistic picture, of course, of the patient and what happened. And he closes on ensuring that the reliability and trackability is crucial, which I think is going to be the biggest value proposition for using Palantir for all their clients. So for all the presentations, Eaton focused on KLLMs, which basically means using multiple ones to get to the end result needed. They highlighted different models for different purposes since they tailored for that. Now, CPCK focused on how Palantir has a framework to do all this AI deployment, all while building on itself with continuous improvement. Then Centra ties in that they can use third-party data alongside their own proprietary data to get the fullest and best picture of the latest information in real time. And then lastly, HCA wanted to make sure everyone knows Palantir has the mechanisms to create audit trails and perform in a highly regulatory environment and being very secure there. So strategically, Palantir made sure these 4 presentations, of course, they all talked about the similar things in using AI, but it made sure that they highlighted all these different value aspects that the products can provide. But what are your thoughts though on AIPCon 2? Did it meet your expectations? Do you think it went well? Let me know below, and thank you all for watching, and to my channel members, and I'll see you in the next video.